Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Zach and I are doing a discussion over Castles of Burgundy, specifically the special edition.
Yep.
Because that's the new hotness. I used to actually have this as the not the first edition, but like the reprint that apparently everyone hated.
Right.
I think they all said it was ugly, but
I
didn't have a problem with it. So this is one of those whenever it was announced it was getting reprinted, it was in that kind of era where like older games were all being reprinted. Castles of Mad King Ludwig was getting like a deluxe edition, and then this one,
the city games. I'm trying to remember.
all the other Steffenfeld games, where he like renamed them.
Yep, and updated them a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what was interesting about this one specifically was it was being done by Awakened Realms,
right,
which is known for highly thematic campaign games. Tainted Grail, Etherfields, The Edge, like they are, I mean, this War of Mine,
right,
they're not known for reprints or remasters.
But they're also pretty good at making miniatures.
They
High
are.
quality. I call it the nice components. They're pretty good at making nice components.
Exactly. So I think going with them was an interesting choice because of the fact that it was going to be a deluxe edition, like an all-encompassing deluxe finalized version. So what can we say about Castles of Burgundy that hasn't already been said, considering this game is, a decade old now?
At least.
Yeah. I got to look up when the original, I want to say 2012.
Probably it was in that golden era of the classic board games. Yeah.
Castles of Burgundy.
It is interesting to think that
2011.
Okay. Yeah. Between 2007 and 2015 is kind of that golden era.
They're the ones
classics.
Yeah, they're the games that came out that's like they're almost staples. Like if you haven't played them, that's kind of in my mind the era of when board gaming as a hobby took off.
It took off. I mean, Kickstarter wasn't as popular as it is today, and so you had to have games that were mechanically sound and not so heavy that you just put out people.
Exactly.
Because it was the golden era of, board games, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, so people were putting out videos for the first time, propagating games out, and this one's fantastic. Yeah,
Castles of Burgundy, whenever I first played it, it was kind of taught to me, and the very first time I played was as a 4-player game with someone who this was their favorite game.
Right.
And yeah, I was like, this is fantastic.
Yep.
Like, I bought it immediately.
It's fantastic.
Just because everything you do when you're just, like, there's something to be said about simple games, but with depth to them.
Yes.
And I feel like we've lost that a little bit. Where it's like to have depth, you have to have more.
And complexity.
And it's a complexity. And I mean, that's all fine, don't be wrong. Some of my favorite games are heavy campaign-driven games with a lot of rules, like Aeon Trespass. But those can be very annoying to actually try and even play. And here it's like, hell, even in the special edition remake, in the margins, in the Burgundy margins, that's for if you haven't played in a while, just to get a quick refresher. You don't have to reread the rules. It's like, I've played this, but it's been a year or so.
Right, so I need to just double check.
What do I do to set up? Or, it just real quick, you don't have to read all this text. You can just quickly be like, now I remember.
I mean,
all you do is roll dice and pick a tile.
Again, so like your actions are literally the bottom eighth of your card. Your card is mostly just to remind you what all the different building types, because there are a fair number. Like, I mean, again, if you just do the monasteries, there's a lot of monasteries. But ignoring that, even just like all your staples, there's still 12, excluding expansions, but 12 different possible buildings plus the monasteries, which are all unique.
Yep.
And so, again, pretty straightforward game.
Yeah, like you only have 2 dice with 4 actions. You take a tile from that area. So if you can match numbers, hey, I roll a 4. That means I can only take from the 4 area.
I can only place into a 4 area.
Yeah, I can only sell a 4 good, or you can turn in and get 2 workers.
Right. That's it.
and that's it. But yet the game is I mean, it's not the deepest game. It's not like you're like popping off combos left and right. I wouldn't call this an engine builder by any means, but it feels satisfying whenever you like.
We get that one turn that does pop off a little bit.
Like you do pop off a little bit where it's like I'm gonna place here. That's gonna give me a castle. That's gonna let me place this, which finishes out my 7 stack area. I happen to do that in the second round somehow.
Right.
I'm sure there's people that are like, second round, you fucking loser.
Right.
So I do that before the first round.
You didn't hit 200 points?
Yeah, I know. You scrub. Yeah, and then you're like, oh, okay. Like, that turned out to be a 38, point swing. Oh, wait, I finished on my area. That's also plus 5 points. Right. And you're just like, whoop.
Right.
Which is what Stefan is known for. I believe he's like the point salad guy. Yeah. Where it's like, I'm going to do this. That's going to give me 2 points. I'm going to do this. That's going to give me 2 points.
Right.
But yet, like, whenever all is said and done, you're like, yay. Like, you see things that you omitted. Even playing the same duchy board, you can be like, oh, okay, here's what I'm going to try. Because we played with the special edition duchies just now.
Yeah.
Just cuz.
Right.
And in the middle, well, not even really. It was kind of towards the end of the game. Well, in the middle of the game, you were like really taking off, and I'm like, how am I, like, what is wrong with this board? It can't be me. It's never me.
Yeah,
it's the board.
It has to be the board.
I'm like, why is my board so shitty? And then we were discussing it, and I'm like, well, there's probably... And you mentioned, I had a lot more ones, so, like, 1 spaces, probably should have went for those as quickly as possible. And then by the end of the game, it was less than 20-point difference.
Right.
So it's like, oh...
In a near 200-point game.
Exactly. So the puzzle of the game, that's what makes this game shine so well, of different combinations of the different tiles, as well as... your different duchy boards.
You had a coin engine.
I did,
An early game.
Yeah. And you were only competing because you got the mines early, and I just chose not to focus those because I had different ways of
because realistically, coins. You used a die probably every other round to get 2 workers, which basically meant you had whatever flexibility and dice that you needed.
Yes.
Gave you a silver as well, which either at the end of the game is a point, or more importantly, gives you more tiles for free.
Exactly. So I never chose to go for the mines because I had 1.
Right.
And then I take 2 workers and a coin. It's like, well, there's my 2 coins I need.
Right.
And that's the brilliance of this game as well, just because you were mentioning that there's 29 monasteries.
Right.
But what's also very, very nice about this is that it's not like they're all available. No. So you don't have to sit here and study and be like, I need to know what all these do. They're just going to... Yeah, they're going to come out. Like, you're going to see 10. Potentially more with the black tiles, but 10. 2 for sure.
But I mean, there's only 6 black tiles. Because that's what the black ones are.
Yep.
So there's only 6 out of 5 pull. So you might get... I think we saw maybe 2, and that was probably heavy.
I was like, there's a tile in here that was score 1 victory point for each sold good.
Oh,
and I was like, could I have won by that?
I probably would have taken that if it popped on the last turn. I had so much.
But yeah, so whenever you don't have to sit here and be like, okay, I need to know what every single unique tile does. Just when they pop out, be like, oh, what does that one do? I mean, and after 1 game, you just look at the symbology. Like 28, I can look and be like, oh, spend a coin to get 2 workers.
Yeah.
Oh man, let me look at number 28. Oh, is it exactly what the icon looks like?
Right. So again, super solid game. There are probably... I mean, this game's been around long enough. There are high-level players for this game. I'm never going to be it.
I like to call them sweats, just because that's what they are. And this isn't for, like... That's not for them.
I mean, and I've just never been that for most, I'll call it, recreational games. So, like, I know people who are super good at, like, Smash Bros. Right. They don't have to look at the screen. If they're giving verbal commands of what the key points they're getting, clicks are putting in, they know the counters to those by somebody just tell. Like, if someone would say, this is what I'm going to do for the next 5 button pushes, they'd be able to counter it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's people who can look at the board state and look at, be like, I have number 9. This is exactly what I need for that. Right. And that's perfectly fine.
Yep.
stay way over there. Like, stay away from me because I don't care enough to get into a game like that. But
I've always liked this game quite a bit.
Yeah,
it's always been super solid.
I sold my old version because I was getting this one. It's like, well, I don't need both. And so the question arises, if you own original Burgundy, should you go and get this?
Do you play it more than twice a month?
Yeah, like
if you do, I might.
Yeah, if this is your like nightly game, your family's downtime where you only play this,
or at least you play it once a week.
Yeah, or you have a game day once a week, like you said, then I would say so.
Yeah. Tiles feel great. They're
the
weighted
acrylic
just
tiles,
enough.
And they fit within the board. It's not like this little divider web thing. It's not like they're like bleeding over into that if you get the acrylic tiles. There's a couple of complaints I do have with the special edition. One, there's no fucking, and every company does this, and it's so frustrating. There is no steps on how you organize it.
Yeah.
So it all just comes together, and it's like, I don't know what goes where. So that's one complaint. That's extremely annoying. Two, it actually comes down to the acrylic tokens. So a lot of people missed that there were acrylic tokens for the workers as well as the some of these, like the victory point things. These are acrylic. But the problem with that is the insert doesn't compensate for those acrylic tokens. So like right now, all of my workers fit in the section because they're cardboard, but if I had acrylic ones, they wouldn't fit.
Right.
But yet, for the tiles, like the standard ones, your ships, castles, and mines, do all fit.
Right.
But if you have the cardboard ones, it's too big. So it feels like they wanted to have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
And by doing so, they kind of screwed over both ends.
Right. Because I could see these staying cardboard, like, that's not as big of a deal, but the workers being cardboard is just a little weird when every other gaming component is not.
Like, that's actually on your board.
That's on your board.
Yeah.
Because everything else is upgraded. Your coins are metal, your tiles are...
Yeah, the goods are wood.
The castles are fantastic.
Oh god, yeah!
These
sun drop castles that I'm so glad aren't like, oh, these are two different ones with special rules. Nope, it's just different molds.
Yep.
That can all just fit independently in there.
Right.
In terms of like what does fit, it's very nice, but the problem is you have to kind of figure it out, and I find that really, really bad design. I'm not too upset by like the workers being cardboard because you're not fiddling with them a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like you just grab a few every now and then.
Right.
But still, the fact that they're also very hard to find, like you just if you did miss it, you can't like really go out and get them.
Right.
I think it's just bad design or bad management of their GameFound or Kickstarter, which is kind of Awaken Realms' overall issue.
Right.
And also, what's weird is the cardboard tokens for the monasteries have what they do on the back, but the acrylic ones don't.
Yep.
And I see why, because you'd have to print text on acrylic, and that's probably not ideal.
I mean, I don't see why not, because you print pretty elaborate drawings in essence, and it's no different.
Yeah, I wonder if there's just an issue with like actual text, maybe chipping.
No, so my gut reaction is probably it's quality control. So with cardboard, you're doing it on a print board.
Yeah.
And so it can just go through, and it doesn't matter what side. Like, they have ways to do it. Doing each of these chips is probably too hard to make sure they're getting printed in the right direction on the right chip.
Yeah.
Just working in a quality realm, I just know that's probably...
And honestly, that's a very minor kind of weirdness thing, because your play rate is just so good.
Yeah.
That you just look at the number, and then find the number on here, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Found it. It was never like a...
And pretty quickly you're going to know, like, if you play this enough, you're just going to know what they do anyway.
Exactly.
So, that doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about this game as well, that was a concern of mine going in, was I thought the dice were just going to be way too deterministic.
Yeah.
Like, I really need I really need that tile at a 2. I didn't roll it. Guess I'm hosed. But
I've never felt that way.
I have never felt that way either. Because again, randomness in games is fine as long as it's not. I don't know what the way I describe it is. I like randomness before my decision making.
Right.
So it's like, if I roll, it's kind of like War of the Ring. You roll, it's like, okay, what can I do with this? Versus, here's what I want to do. Let's hope dice let me. Where it's like, I want that tile. I mean, granted, it's like, I want that tile, and then you roll, which is kind of the same thing, but then you're like,
But I can now do these things, and...
Okay, do I spend 3... Like, do I spend 3 workers?
And that, to me, is the thing, is there's so much abilities for mitigation that it's like, it matters what I roll. It doesn't matter what I roll.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you want to roll exactly what you want to roll.
Right.
But it's not the end of the world if you don't.
Right.
Because you have very just small decisions that are still kind of impactful. Like, there were times where I, like, whenever I was trying to fill out this 7 and it had all to be individual buildings, I was like, I had to plan ahead, but I was worried because there were finally unique ones like the Banksmith, and I'm like, oh god, is he gonna take these from me? But I couldn't. You didn't have the space I didn't have the space for it, so then I had to jettison something.
And I'll put it this way: I never once looked over what you needed.
Well, that makes me feel good because I was like, he's taking those because he knows I need buildings.
So I think the only thing I paid attention to what you took was animals. Just because I didn't want to compete for the same animals, and there's enough animal tiles. Like, I've always felt there's enough animal tiles, especially at 2, that I don't need to compete with it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you're going to go, I think you went pigs.
Sheep.
Or sheep.
Yeah, we just got done playing Great Western Trail New Zealand. I'm all about sheep.
You're all about sheep.
Yeah, I actually have a sheep in my backyard.
Like, I took a sheep only because I knew I needed greens to start filling this out to complete it.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, I wasn't going for the same animals that you were. Other than that, I never once looked over at your board to see what you're going for.
No, and I think that's perfectly fine in this game because, especially at 2, it's not so tight of like, like, okay, I really need, like, if you took a tile that I was like eyeing, I wasn't like, guess I'll do nothing, you know. I was like, damn. Like the watchtower, and it's like, it wasn't that because you took it for the 4 points, it was, I needed variety.
Right.
And I'm like, shit, okay, how do I, and then it wasn't until like the 5th round that
another watchtower popped out.
Well, that, and just, then all the variety of buildings came out, and I'm like, damn. So, I guess that is a question. Do you find that your game, with the different duchy boards, do you find that it's going to be kind of polarizing on how the tiles come out? Like, how is your game going to be good or bad depending on, like, for example, if I happen to get the monastery that let me have the same buildings, I don't know if I would have won, but I damn well would have been different. I would have been like, oh man, I would have just been popping them left and right.
So I don't think so, because honestly, like, I was not so I placed my castle here thinking, okay, I have 3 options to place, and I like greens. Like, I've always thought the greens were just kind of a fun mechanic of trying to collect the same animals, because at some point, especially, I play this more often at 4, at some point someone else is collecting the same animals, so it's that kind of push and pull of, no, I want that, no, you want that.
right. And that's when turn order really matters.
But realistically, like, the logical play is to go for the brown buildings, because they tend to be a little bit bigger sections because there's more of them. But the other option is because they tend to have better powers overall.
I don't know if I'd say better. I mean, they probably are better. They're not as interesting. The monasteries are cool, but yes, in terms of gameplay mechanisms, it's like, yeah, you're going to be able to just start taking free tiles where...
You take free tiles, you get to place free tiles, you score victory points, you sell, which gives you silvers, which gives you more stuff. And so you get 2 silvers, which again, you can then just immediately go and buy something. You get workers. I mean, boarding house gains 4 workers. Like,
I know, it never came out.
Boom!
Like, and that's the thing, banks didn't come out till way later.
Right.
So, and here's the thing, is like, my 7 stack of buildings could have still been done really well had I gotten like a carpenter's workshop
Yes.
and then a town hall into something else. It's like I could have probably placed 3 individual buildings.
So I will say, as soon as I saw town halls, I went for them early.
I remember there being one,
and there won the next round, and I got that one turn on the first turn.
The free places
because
nice.
the free place is just so valuable.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, again, anything that gives you a free placement, a free pull, castles give you free actions. That's why I thought you actually were going for it. You went for lots of castles.
I absolutely was, because I went this way, but I was so hyper fixated on my 7 buildings.
Right.
I didn't think it was going to be that difficult to get.
And that's probably what I do different. I don't hyper focus on any of black. I just kind of look at what my dice were and say, okay, what can I get for that?
Yeah.
Does it fill something up in the region that I'm trying to, the general area? And it's like,
because the original plan was one of the first monasteries I placed was 19, which was 4 points for every church.
Yeah.
But no churches came out after
Right.
that, so it's like, well, shit.
Yeah, I think the monasteries, honestly, the point ones are significantly better at the end game because there's no guarantee what you're pulling ever from a bag.
Yeah. I do wish there was a way to kind of mitigate that. Like some way that lets you pick a type of building that you want, and you don't have to be so reliant on randomly drawing from the bag. And to be fair, I don't know if there's a mini expansion that does anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
We haven't played. We played with a few of the expansions.
I think that's what the black bag is
one
for.
of the actually, let me see the black bag, because there is one in here that is actually kind of like that.
The crane?
The crane.
Yeah.
Which is another building type, but you get to trigger the effect of any building.
But I think that's the thing is, the black bag is what I think you're talking about, the mitigation, because it's randomly putting out more of specific tiles.
It's of every tile, every type of tile.
Right. So that's like how I got, I got my mines out by end of round 2, so I was getting 3 silvers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the reason I could do that was because one of the middle ones was a black tile.
Yeah.
And so, it's those type of things that I do think that's how it mitigates it a little bit. Because it's just another random pool. Because you know how many animals are going to be out every round.
Yeah.
It's 2.
Yeah.
How many brown buildings? It's always 4.
Yeah.
Except for the middle.
Yeah, you don't know what type.
Don't know what type.
But you can always plan for that. And I do think that's why most people say this is best at 2. Because a lot of times in a game like this, you feel like, 2 players is too few. We're not doing anything with each other. But 4 players is too much. So normally 3 is that middle, but then someone's getting dicked on in the middle.
Right.
But here, I always felt like, even though you were in first, I didn't feel like I was like, there's nothing I can do, but I didn't like not being in first.
Right.
So it still had that dynamic of like, okay, what does he want?
Right.
But yet I'm still going to get most likely what I want.
Right.
And I like that. I think that's a perfect balance.
Yep.
In terms of player count.
Yeah.
I'm not saying 4 is bad. 4 this is one of those also few games where 4 doesn't feel really any longer.
Yeah.
Just because it's not like, increase the number of dice you get. Now there's 70 tiles out.
Right. No, it's just, you get, basically it's a tile per player in each section.
I think the biggest thing is the player count. The only thing that's probably the biggest polarizing thing of between players are these.
Yeah.
There's more people competing for these, so you're not going to have someone who runs away with 20 points from that. You probably would have gotten 10,
right? And
someone else would have gotten 10, and then because not 10. It's based off of number of players, but there's always 2. So in a 4-player game, it's 7 points.
Yeah, the spread is wider because so
I got 7 points off of mine.
Yeah.
So it's a 13-point difference.
Oh, it's actually the same, isn't it?
It's 5 and 2.
Yep.
Yep.
So the spread's the same.
I mean, it is nice that like the next person can still get something if they're close. But I think that's probably the biggest difference. Are these kind of fill out your thing?
Yeah, you're definitely more goal oriented to grab these in a 4-player game because, again, you still got 2 of them, and so you mitigated what I got from them. You were not guaranteed that in a 4-player game because there's only 2 still.
Exactly. Yeah, our difference is 18 points.
Yeah.
That's literally the difference of me filling out my castle before you and ships before you.
Right.
It's like you lose 10, I gain 10, but I still got the 17.
Right.
It was still close, even though if you watch this game at the beginning, you'd be like, wow, man, he sucks. And I'm like, I don't know what happened. Like, what?
Well, but that's
like this board.
The first 2 rounds, so A and B, you were 10 points ahead of me.
I know.
And then round C and D is where I started picking up pace.
Yeah, and that's probably, like you said, what I should have been going for, just these really tiny ones just to guarantee that lead.
Yeah.
But that's also one of the best things about this game is it's not the same board every time. And thank God, because this game would kind of suck if it was the same board, but you just had to rely on tiles.
Yeah.
They have a bunch.
Tons of boards.
Well, this is kind of deceptive, because I thought, whenever I first got this, that these were all individual boards, like unique boards.
Right.
Obviously, they have to account for 4 players.
Right.
Which I was like, oh my god! Like, there's 80 boards here. There's still quite a few, and there's a bunch for expansions, like the special edition that you have.
It's still pretty...
You have variety.
There's still a large variety.
Like, I mean, 1 to 2 is just a different strategy, where you're going to start with your castle.
I mean, so I have board 22. What's your board number?
21.
Okay, so even if, let's just say it's 22 different boards, they're double-sided array. So it's 44 different options.
Right. Well, this is the same board. So on the back of mine is 22. Oh, yeah, so it's still double-sided. So
yeah, it's still 44 options.
Yep.
That's a lot of boards. Like, that's a lot of randomization.
I'm trying. No, yours is 22.
No, there's 22.
There's 22 different boards. Yeah. Okay, I'm like, what? No.
There's 22.
But still, 22 different boards, and it's actually not even that, because it's more, because the ones on the back. Dang it.
I mean, what's the highest number?
29, I think.
So 29 different
And I think
boards.
those are expansions, but I think 29 different boards on top of. There's a vineyard expansion where you have a vineyard board with, and at least I have the acrylic tiles for those.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of trying to get congruent grapes,
right.
So that's another thing your dice can do. And the other brilliant thing is all the expansions that are in this game. It's not like, oh, let's play with this expansion. Oh god, okay. Now what do we have to learn? Like when we were setting this up, I was like a White Castle came out, and then we all just got diarrhea and wanted to throw up. But then. It was like, oh, wait a minute, what is that? Oh, I was like, oh, shit, sorry, that's an expansion. Oh, okay, well, it's one tile.
Yeah.
We know exactly. Like
you get the white die to tell you what they
expect. I feel like that's what a lot of games miss nowadays, is many expansions that are just like, oh. I mean, the White Castle have taken another action using a white die. Cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of games miss the fact that you already have a lot of variety in it, and that's what people like about the game. So just add more variety.
Yeah.
But don't make it where it's better or worse in power.
Exactly.
So, like, castles are still rare, but there's only 4 of them that you can ever get, so you're only getting ever 4 extra actions.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the white castles kind of give you another action.
Yeah. Still
but
limited.
It's still limited.
It's limited. It's not completely broken.
Right.
Like the Burgundy, because that's what the game's about.
Right.
It's not a free whatever you want to do action, but I think whenever I placed mine, it was like for a 2 or something, and there was nothing there, and I'm like, oh, I'll just get workers, which give me money, which in this case, let me buy from the black thing.
Right. So to me, it's those type I call sweet zones that, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's not bad, and if you look at the rest of them, like, the inn is basically any color.
It's any color and increases the size, so it turns like it would turn my 7 into an 8.
Right.
Which would have been nice, because that's what is that? That is another 8 points.
Right.
Well, depending on where you put it out. I also love that. I love the quicker you fill out a region,
the
more points. Some other games kind of do that.
Yes.
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know I've seen that where it's like the quicker you do something, the more rewarding it is. But then later on, it's not as. Paladins. Paladins does that. Like, well, sorry. No, yeah. It's not quite like that, but Paladins, the goals, the ones that come later on are worth more points because you have less time to do it.
Right.
And I like that, where it's like, if you can pull it off, it's like, this is kind of...
It's the reverse order.
It's the reverse, but still in terms of like, well, you have less time to do it in A, but if you can do it, you're rewarded. Higher. It's just kind of the opposite.
Yeah.
And then...
Where time is a factor in points.
Yes, which is cool.
Yep.
But they have a team game. They just kind of threw all the expansions in here. White Castle's the 5th, the Inns, Trade Routes, which is another expansion. Team game, which actually sounds kind of cool. I'm usually not a team player. Like, I'm a dick if I'm on a team. I'm not a team...
Game player.
Yeah, that just sounds weird, but like you take these boards.
You don't play co-op games against other people. Like Captain Sonar.
Yeah, even though I love Captain Sonar, but yes.
Right.
Like, I don't take Star Wars Rebellion or War of the Ring and be like, let's do it as a team. It's like, no, because you're just going to bring me down.
Right.
Yeah, you know, the 2-player games where, like, you can play with 4. It's like, shut the fuck up.
Right.
But you can, like, take these, and I think that's interesting.
I do think that's interesting.
I'd give that a shot, because that's also just going to give you different strategies on how you're going to build out.
Right. It would definitely be interesting.
Right. You get a lot. You get a lot with this game, and what's fantastic is they didn't butcher it.
Right.
They didn't... I love Awakened Realms games, for the most part. Mainly Tainted Grail and This War of Mine. Like, I didn't like... Etherfields was so cool, but they Awakened Realms it. Great Wall was another one of theirs.
Right.
Where it's like...
Did they do Nemesis too?
Nemesis, yes. Man, yeah, I forgot that they do quite a bit. Nemesis, fantastic. Tainted Grail is fantastic. Etherfield was cool in concept, but fell flat. Great Wall, no one talks about because it wasn't good.
No. It was pretty though.
It was pretty.
It
had very unique ideas, but they always have a problem kind of reining it in.
Yeah.
In terms of their not their campaign games, which Tainted Grail, for example, a lot of people is like, this is the best written game on the market. It was very nice that they then take this and make it where it's like, okay, to take a tile, you have to do these 18 steps.
Right.
Like, oh, why did you ruin the game?
Right.
So, in summary, Castles of Burgundy is fantastic, and the special edition is special.
Yep.
Is how I'd say it. Oh, look at that! You did.
Yeah, only 500 points.
I don't know. I'm only seeing you on the 50. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Castles of Burgundy Special Edition?
A 9, probably.
9.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go 10. I think I like. This is like the kind of Euro game that is just right up my alley with all the others. Like, I don't feel like I'm going through the motions. I feel good the entire time I'm playing. The deluxeified version just enhances that.
Yeah.
That this is one that's like, because some of the big deluxe versions, like Everdell, for example, is that massive box. It's like, oh god, I have to weed through all that shit just to play Everdell.
I mean, or Mad King. The
Colossal
is so fun, but at the same time it's like it's impractical.
Yeah.
And so
this is on the same level, I think, as like the Suburbia
right.
remake, where it's just kind of like enhanced.
Well, even just the castle's not the colossal. It's nice. Everything that's nice. It's not necessary.
Yeah.
But it's super nice. Like, again, all this is not necessarily the original. Cardboard is great, but if this is I love this game, it's my top game, why wouldn't you deluxe it?
Yeah, exactly.
Personally.
No, I mean, I completely agree, and it's also easy to set up, easy to tear down, and easy to teach, which is why it just goes up there. If this was any more complex, I'd probably still put it at a 9, but the fact that I can be like, here's what you do on your turn. Figure out what you want to do with those 2 numbers.
Right. You have 4 possible actions with those 2 dice, and that's it.
Yep.
And we're going to do it 5 times, and then 5 of those times, so it's 25 in total. Basically, we're going to get 50 actions.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like 50 actions.
Nope.
In fact, there were multiple times where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take that, and oh wow, it's already over.
Right.
Oh my god, we're on the next round. So my 7 stack, it's dwindling in points. No, I'm taking too long. Yeah, all of those just enhance this game to where I see why people praise this as Steffenfeld's best.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm not a Steffenfeld fan. I haven't really played much of his games. I played this. I've played In the Year of the Dragon at 2, which apparently is not good at 2. And Marrakesh.
I think I played a couple more of his. I've always liked his games. They always feel like this. It's all very point salad-y.
I know this is like Rado's hit. That's his favorite designer. I think he's played every Steffenfeld game.
It's a lot of people's. I would call it. His designs always feel clean.
Yeah.
I don't always like his games because sometimes I feel like there are too many mini games, but they're all clean mini games at least.
Yeah.
But
like Marrakesh is like
too many mini games.
It was a lot of mini games, but like they felt like connected still. So where it's like I could see how they all linked together, but
that's just not my type of game. It's just not the way I'm going to enjoy a game. But other than that, no, his games are great.
He doesn't feel like, because he's been around for quite some time. Reiner Knizia has also been around but Reiner Knizia feels like he's more of an experimental designer. He's like, he just pumps out games with like, I had an idea. He did a fat line of Coke, and then he's like, what if?
That's how.
What if Charades was a card game?
That's how I feel about Garfield as well. Richard Garfield.
Oh, Richard Garfield. I thought you said like Garfield. Like I'm like Paladin's Guy. No,
Richard Garfield.
Yeah. But he's insane because he made Magic. So you have to be kind of crazy.
No, and I see like as a game designer, I think he is pretty brilliant. But I think he comes with a new idea and makes a game for it. Yeah, and just spits it out sometimes. Right.
Steffenfeld kind. Oh wait, no, I've played I've played Merlin. I think Merlin is also Steffenfeld. Which I wasn't a huge fan of Merlin.
Got it.
Yes. Anyway, this isn't a review on Steffenfeld. Castles of Burgundy, everyone. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.